in Monza. And we are underway for the feature races. A very, very good start from Maverick, who Hyper has lost out tragically there to the other drivers. And Padge as well is up into second position. The Ferrari leads on home turf as it goes down to the inside. Padge forces his way now and through, obviously tried to overtake Hyper, but didn't quite work out. A lot of carnage there in the first corner and plenty of drivers falling down as a result. Hyper, unfortunately, has fallen down into 6th position. Hissy as well did not have a good start either. Appy had a good start for her as well, with him being in 10th position. But we have front wing damage possibly for Tucker for Life and maybe for Clouded Tadpole as well. But that was a brilliant getaway from RPR Maverick. As you see on front, the predicted tyre stop strategy is a lap 11 to 13 on the softs to come in. But those on the mediums can obviously play much, much longer. With safety cars and Laura, who knows? And Chelsea is now up into 4th position in the first Alfa Romeo. Rather, Lecker Russ hasn't gained anything from the start, so he has fallen. Well, he would have. It's kind of a loss. He would have expected to have gained positions, but it hasn't quite worked out his way at all. Those started on the soft compound tyres have certainly made hay while the sun is shining at the start, because they are all in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th positions respectively. As we see at the front of the grid, we have IIRL Padge now coming up to RPR Maverick. He's got the slipstream, he's got overtake applied, and coming up into the Rettifilio. What does he do? He breaks ahead. Oh, very fair racing between the two, but it looks like he's got the traction out of the exit of the corner. He's left Maverick out to dry, and he's going to have his time cut out fighting the AlphaTauri behind him as they come round the Curva Grande into the second chicane. Padge comes down, he takes the lead, and the Ferrari of the AlphaTauri. Oh, very, very close there between the Alfa Romeo there and the Haas. And what has happened behind it? It looks like Hyper looks to have had a moment, and yes, he has spun. IIRL Hyper has unfortunately spun, and he's dropped effectively now to last place, where Lecker Russ has come into the pits to, I presume, he must have had front wing damage to some capacity. But very, very long into this Grand Prix, Padge takes the fastest lap ahead of Maverick, and here we have Chelsea now coming up to overtake the Ferrari. He's already pretty much ahead by the time they come into the Rettifilio. A little twitch as he tries to wrestle the grip of the car, and little Semp comes into the pits to change tyres, and incident there in the first sector. Maverick has spun. The Ferrari spins and breaks the avoidance boards there, so all kinds of polystyrene and everything all over the place. So that's another position crucially gained for Appy, who is now up into 8th. As RPR Maverick now fights the McLaren of Mark D, and Mark D can't make the overtake work, so Maverick drops down to 10th. Obviously behind the other fights we have Hippie versus Clouded Tadpole, and Alpha Matty has come in and retired from the session, whereas Lil Semp takes the fastest lap, and it's not been a good race for the Aston Martins by any standards, it must be said. Rhea is just coming in just a little bit more now in towards. It looks like they're evenly spread the top 3. Dayleg in the medium compound tyres is about 5 seconds back from the Alfa Romeo of Chelsea, but you would expect that considering he's on a slower compound of tyre. But upcoming Karma is he's certainly reeling in that Haas of APS Zog. Matty has left the session, so unfortunately shame for him, but upcoming Karma is probably closer to the Haas than the Haas is to anybody else, and Little Semp has had yet another incident in the Aston Martin. It's been a very bad day, it has to be said, for those Aston Martin cars. Let's see, so the key fight now is between 4th, 5th and 6th places. You haven't seen Haas fight this high up the grid since 2018, so before the days of Rich Energy and that ill-fated sponsorship deal that cost Haas quite a lot of money and credibility to go with it. Upcoming Karma fights Haas, and was there a little bit of contact between the two? I think there very well might have been, and that has given Appy yet another position. I wonder whether there was contact between the two. He looked very, very close to the Haas of APS Zog there, so I wonder whether they may be investigated by the stewards, but this is falling back into Appy's hands now. It's about, look, just trying to add up the times here, he's about 12 seconds back from the lead. Yeah, the leader, yes, he's 12.6 seconds back from the lead, so first few laps probably wouldn't have been too kind to him, but I'm sure that'll make it work here. That's fine. Oh, and Maverick has crashed out. In the Ferrari, it looks like RPR Maverick has crashed out. And is that going to throw a safety car? They see it's just out the back of the Ascari chicane. I can't quite spot it there, but yellow flags out in that third sector. Is that going to bring out a safety car? Yeah, you can just see off the back of your screen there, it just caught it. But no, there's no safety car, thankfully. It doesn't bunch up the field. That has worked out pretty well. I think for those of the soft compound tyres, we'll be probably looking to come in early anyway. Padge is taking a very commanding lead up at the front of the grid. He's got a 2.5 second gap back to this man, the AlphaTauri of APS Ria, who I thought he lost out quite badly in the sprint race, but this has worked out very well for him so far in the feature. Behind him is Chelsea in the Alfa Romeo, and we also have Daleg as well in the Haas, in the Alfa Romeo. So this is quite a close battle coming up between Take Her Easy and APS Zog. He's got DRS, and can he throw it round to the outside maybe, or to the inside? What is the Mercedes going to do? Hangs it around the outside, and he makes it stick, and that is a lovely bit of driving there from Take Her Easy. Lovely piece of opportunist driving, and the Haas has lost out as well to the McLaren of Mark D. He's going to go around to the outside of the Curva Grande. Is he going to make the move stick? He's got the inside coming into the chicane. I think that's it. The McLaren is ahead of now of the Mercedes. Mark D capitalizes beautifully there, and that puts him up into 7th position. And as you see in front, Appy has now overtaken upcoming Karma. So as long as the Williams doesn't fight back too much, when I highly suspect he will, this is racing after all, this is working out very, very well for the Mercedes. You could... The interesting thing, for those top 3 on the soft tyres, when are they going to be coming in? But it looks like Padge has stayed out for yet another lap. He'll be going for until lap 11. And oh, and it looks like Hissy has had a moment. Yes, Hissy has spun. And he's got front wing damage. You'll see by the front right end plate of his front wing that he has got damage. That promotes Hyper into 12th. Will drop the Alpine effectively into last place, but so far it's been evening out between the top 3, and it's been a very commanding performance so far from the Red Bull of Padge, who is driving an absolutely brilliant race so far, and also, as for those of you not watching, manages the league, so be sure to give an extra shout out to him. But is he going to be coming in? At the end of this lap, he's got a 5-second advantage. Compared to the closest car on the medium tyres, he's got about a 16-second advantage. So what is he going to do now? He's staying out for yet another lap. And Chelsea looks like to have a bad exit coming out of the Ascari chicane, which has lowered the gap between himself and Daleg. And Daleg now is actually finding himself on the with Appy on his back, only about 2.3 seconds back, and Chelsea comes into the pits. Where does this leave him now? As he comes in, he puts on the medium compound tyres. Do 15 laps, they should get him through easily to the end of the race. Well, if that's true, then I'm not quite sure. If those soft tyres can go that long, then I'm not quite sure where this actually leaves Appy, because if there's a safety car comes out, that will certainly help him, but it will not be ideal, actually, if because Padge is still out and coming up to the Alboreto curve. Ria is now 6 seconds behind, whereas Daleg is just coming up to the Ascari chicane with Appy not too far behind. Upcoming Karma now is, I think he's just been passed by the McLaren of Mark D. So he's having a rough time on those medium compound tyres. Maybe the setup isn't quite where he wants to be. And into the pit lane comes Rhea. Interesting to see where he heads out, because Chelsea on fresh mediums will certainly claw some time back. Doesn't look like the fastest stop in the world, but then again, it wasn't exactly the slowest either. And he should get out more than comfortably ahead of the Alfa Romeo. And yes, he does. He falls behind the Haas of Zog, but in front of the Ferrari as well of Tucker for Life, as behind Hyper is actually fighting Chelsea. And this is not what Chelsea needs at all, because Hyper is already spun out. It's not exactly within race contention for the win, but this is losing Chelsea time to the cars in front of him. With 12-lap-old medium tyres, I have to say that's a lovely bit of driving there from Hyper to at least fight with him, despite his spin earlier. Is this the lap where we'll see Padge coming in now, as Appy now effectively inherits third place? So if he were to get a safety car now, that would serve him up a right treat, because to about 8th position down, they would all have to slow down, and he would gain quite a lot of time if he were to do that. And yes, Padge is coming now into the pits. And having done half the race distance on the softs, he puts on the mediums now. And Dayleg will inherit the lead, and Appy will inherit second position. But Padge will come out, I think, comfortably ahead of his nearest rival, which is Rhea. Upcoming Karma overtakes him in the Williams, but the Mercedes, can he get out in front of Mercedes? I think he does so easily. And the gap between the two stays at about 5 seconds. Zog now comes into the pits, and Chelsea has re-overtaken Hyper. Certainly re-overtaken Hyper, and that's certainly not what he needs. He's lost probably about 2 seconds now behind Rhea, because the gap between the two now is coming up to around 7 seconds. And let's see, interesting to see how much longer he will go into this. And Hyper has crashed out. IIRL Hyper has crashed out, and the safety car has come out now, which is absolutely brilliant times for Take It Easy. It'll be good for Tucker Life, and it'll be good for Leka Rus, and especially for Hissy, because he was struggling as well. And IIRL Appy, depending how things go, I think they all have to drive to a delta on the first sort of lap, so the gap should stay the same. But the safety car coming out is really going to help that Mercedes. And Appy, yes, Dayleg and Appy now come into the pits, as does Mark D and Upcoming Karma. That means that Padge, Padge has come into the pits now. Yes, and Padge goes on to softs, Appy goes on to soft. That is going to bring Appy right into contention. With Rhea and Chelsea inheriting the lead effectively, Appy on fresh softs now is in full. Dayleg, Appy, Mark D, Padge, Take It Easy, and Upcoming Karma are all on soft compound tyres. That's going to bring Appy right back into this fight, having started quite near the back after a disastrous sprint race, it has to be said. Rhea does not want to go any earlier than he has to, and it looks like he's going to, looks like he's dropped the clutch now actually. Now that's a bad restart, because everybody is coming up around each other. And Appy now coming up to the inside. Could he do 2 cars in 1 corner, it seems? Not quite. Chelsea holds on. Oh, and there's issue. Upcoming Karma and Lecker Rus has passed, and then Lecker Rus has got a 10-second time penalty for exceeding the track limits. Just a very crazy one at the least. Padge has dropped down to 7th, and oh, and Appy has spun! Appy has gone way too far over the curb, and he has spun the car and dropping him all the way to the back, and that is a massive shame for Appy there, who was on for a brilliant chance to really score some points, but it looks like today may not be his day. Rhea has gotten ahead. He's gotten a 1.5 second gap to Chelsea, as Mark D and Dayleg, Take It Easy and Padge are all now haven't quite capitalised the way they want. They're still going to be faster nonetheless, and Chelsea has gone very, very wide. That is going to hand the position surely to the Haas as they come round to the Alboreto chicane. And Appy has retired from the session. He has crashed. Appy is out, unfortunately, and that is a massive shame for him. And oh, and Chelsea has spun as well. Chelsea now has spun, and he has lost his front wing there. And absolute carnage there. I suppose the only consolation that the virtual safety car has now come out, and he's given himself a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane for his troubles. But already so much stuff has been happening in this race, and APS Rhea, now in the lead, has got a very outside chance of winning this Grand Prix, just as long as everyone, because Zog is out, Appy is out, and now Chelsea has spun out himself. Eager to get a good restart and to lead the field away. He is very much like the David fighting the Goliath, because the closest people around him are on soft compound tyres. When is he going to go? He has gone now, and crucially, I think he's broken the slipstream. Take It Easy is coming up to him as Dayleg in third place. I'm going to give him a lot more to think about, but Rhea holds them off and gets that car turned in very, very well. Padge now is up into third position, but Padge has got a penalty for corner cutting, but dutifully, I think he lets a whole bunch of cars go. He's let, and pretty much he's let all of them go. I don't know whether he actually may have damage there, but certainly respectful driving from Padge to recognise when he's gained a position unfairly and to let it go. Oh, and they were so close between the McLaren and upcoming carnage there in the Williams. The Williams goes off. The Williams is off. And now that Hissy has now inherited third position because of it. Padge's restart has not gone the way he wanted at all, as now drops down into P9 of all places. Hissy has profited well from this with 5 laps fresher softs, and he will be aiming for at least a haul of about 5 or 6 points, and Little Semp has lost out, it seems, to the AlphaTauri of Clouded Tadpole, and Mark D goes up into 5th as a result, and the Alpine overtakes the AlphaTauri as well. But what's the situation up at the front? Rhea on 9-lap-old mediums is defending with all he's got, and Chelsea has spun yet again. Unfortunately, that may see him be getting lapped, unfortunately, if he can't get those tyre temps under control. Padge has now reclaimed past Tadpole. Tadpole actually comes into the pits as I say that. But Dayleg looks in front of him and sees a crucial opportunity to win this Grand Prix. The fight below him intensifies. Lil Semp fights off the McLaren, and it's getting so close up between. It's almost 4 abreast coming into the Curva Grande, and Hissy now overtakes the McLaren and inherits 4th position as a result. Not a bad effort considering he spun at the beginning of the race. Now, what's they going to do? Go round to the outside, and oh, there's contact between the both, and that is an absolute carnage fest. 3 cars involved with each other in quite a lot of carnage, and it was close racing between Hissy and Mark. Unfortunately, the Alpine comes off worse, unfortunately, so there's a massive shame. A little bit of contact there has happened. But going back up to the front, it's 6 tenths now between the two, and certainly fun racing to watch all throughout. Now the soft tyres are pretty much back in their operating window. Padge is now back into 4th position, and there's a little bit of trouble there in Sector 2, and I think that's Hissy, who may have had a moment coming off the back of the second Lesmo. As we see up at the front, Dayleg on the fresher soft tyres hunts down Rhea. If they had DRS at this point, you could sense that the Haas just going ahead of the AlphaTauri for sure. But looking out behind, doesn't look like the position's going to change. The Ferrari is up against upcoming Karma. Let's just review the penalties, actually, once we got them here. 4th position. But that Haas is really closing up now to the AlphaTauri. It will not be long now before you can just sense an overtake is coming. What does he do around the Alboreto curve? He loses a little bit of time on the entry, but I think he's made up for it with a brilliant exit as he comes now down to the top. And there we have it. DRS is open, and there you go. It looks like it's curtains for Ria's chances to win this Grand Prix. On the penultimate lap, DME Dayleg takes the lead. And that could be curtains for the... That could very well have decided the race, as the Haas takes the lead in what is a very crucial part of this Grand Prix, as Leclerc Rus overtakes the Ferrari. And he cuts the curb. I keep getting that name wrong, Cautious Fire Hazard, so I do apologise for that. So Dale G, rather, he's got 4 tenths ahead coming to Ria's DRS zone. Can Ria attempt to move and overtake him here? He's coming down. He's going to make him go down to the outside. This is for the race win, and on the last lap as well. Dale G just holds him off, and then that could be it, unless there's a really poor exit coming down to the end of this race. And this is truly a fun thing to watch going down the outside. Go around to the outside, the power rocker. Oh, and there's contact for Ria, and Ria's lost out there, unfortunately, as he made contact with the Haas. We're going to go on board with Dale G now. He comes across the line. He wins the Italian Grand Prix. Ria takes 2nd position, just attempting that late outside move. And there we have Tucker for Life taking 4th position away from Padge. Leclerc Rus comes across the line in P6, with P7 as well for upcoming Karma. And Mark D, as a result, takes 6th place. Hissy at the moment. Claro Tadpole has retired. Way to the end. Almost lost my voice now. I think it was like watching the British Grand Prix earlier on this year. But that was a lot of fun. Order then. So we have Dale G wins in the Haas. We have Ria 2nd, Take Her Easy 3rd in the Mercedes. 4th is Tucker for Life in the Ferrari. Padge is 5th in the Red Bull. Mark D 6th in the McLaren. Leclerc is 7th in the Alfa Romeo. Upcoming Karma is 8th in the Williams. Hissy is 9th in the Alpine. And Lil Semp is 10th in the